Hi, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Missy and I write the blog RamblingRoseFarmhouse.com, and I'm very happy to have you here today. Today I'm going to show you how I freeze peppers so that I can keep them all through the winter and have peppers to use during the winter when we don't have any growing in our garden. And I'm also going to talk to you about how I use my frozen peppers, and that determines exactly what I do to them before I freeze them. So, you know, it's important to, if you're going to put food up, you need to put it up in a way that it will be usable to you, or else you just kind of defeat the purpose. If you put up a lot of food in the freezer but you don't know what to do with it, or you don't have a plan for it, a lot of times it just gets wasted, and the next year you end up pulling that old stuff out of the freezer and throwing it away because you never used it. So hopefully today you will have some good ideas for what you can do with your peppers if you have an overabundance of them coming out of your garden, and that you'll be able to use them all throughout the winter. So I have some ideas for you. So today we're going to talk about bell peppers, banana peppers, and jalapeno peppers. That's what we have growing this year, and this year they have just exploded. We've had so many more peppers than we usually do. So normally we plant our peppers in the spring, and a lot of times they just sit there. They don't really do anything. They just kind of sit there most of the summer, and then toward the fall when it starts cooling off, they start producing peppers, and they'll do really well at that point in time, but we don't get a ton of peppers. This year, we planted them in the spring like we always do, and they immediately started growing and blooming and producing peppers, and they're slowing down now, which it's August, kind of toward the end, but all summer long they've just been going crazy. And I don't know what the difference is, except that it was a lot cooler here this spring than it normally is. We would have cool nights and cool mornings and longer, so that might be what made a difference. I don't know, but I've talked to several other people that live in our area, and they have had like a bumper pepper crops this year too. So I've already put a ton of peppers in the freezer, but I thought I would share that with you, how I put mine up and then what I do with them. So let's get on with it. So bell peppers. We love stuffed bell peppers, and so it's really easy to prepare these peppers to be stuffed and freeze them that way. Or you can prepare your stuffing at the same time that you have your peppers, and you can go ahead and stuff them before you freeze them. If you do them that way, if you stuff them before you freeze them, then you have a meal, an easy freezer meal right there, because you can pull those peppers out of the freezer. They're already stuffed. All you have to do is put them in the oven and bake them, and you have stuffed bell peppers. So, you know, stuffed bell peppers is something that we always seem to want to have during the winter when we don't have peppers, but if you do them this way, you can easily have them. So I'm just going to show you how I cut my peppers to freeze them to make stuffed bell peppers. And what I do is, the first thing I do is I cut out that middle part. Let's see if I can get this over here where you can see. And then I pull that out of there. And then I just go back and pull these middle parts out, and I try to get all of those seeds out. Now, if you have trouble getting the seeds out, you can go ahead and rinse the peppers again, rinse the insides of them and get the seeds out of there. You just want to let them drip dry before you freeze them. So this one's split a little bit, but here you have like a nice little pepper that's ready to be stuffed. So I will either freeze it just like this, or like I said, if I have my stuffing made up, I'll go ahead and stuff them, freeze them like that, and then they're ready to go. Either way, if you freeze them like this, you can pull them out of the freezer and stuff them then and go ahead and make them. So they're gonna go on my little pan over here. I already have some that I've been cutting up. Now, this year, and we love stuffed bell peppers, but this year I have had so many peppers that I've put in the freezer already that I don't have room to keep putting them up like this. These take up a lot of space. So consider that, you know, if you don't have a lot of freezer space, even though you love stuffed bell peppers, you might not want to put up too many of them like this. So my alternative to that is I have been slicing my peppers up into pretty wide slices like this. And what I do with these is I have a stuffed bell pepper casserole. So it's kind of like a one pot thing. It's really easy to make, which I will share that recipe with y'all later. But I use my bell peppers in there just like this, and you get that same flavor that you get from a stuffed bell pepper. It's kind of got all the same stuff in it, except these don't take up near as much room in my freezer as they do if I put them up like this. So this is what I've been doing more of this year, is I've been slicing them like this. I'm going to show you really quick how I do that. So I take my pepper and I start with my knife on one end and I go around to the other side, and then when I get back here to that core, I just turn and go around it. And see, that half comes off, and then go ahead and get the core off on the other side. Go ahead and pull those seeds and everything out of there. This one has a little bad spot on the end, so I'm going to cut that out. Get all those seeds out. And then when I get them into my two halves, I go ahead and cut them into my strips. Whatever size strips I want. It can either be wider, or if I want to make narrower strips, I can make them like that. Now these are really easy to take out of the freezer and chop into smaller pieces if you need smaller, chopped bell pepper for a recipe. I used to chop all of my peppers when I first, got married and started gardening and doing all this stuff. I chopped them all up because that seemed like the smart thing to do. I didn't want to have to chop them later. But what I figured out over the years happened is that eventually that bag of chopped peppers, from taking it out of the freezer, getting some out, putting it back in the freezer, when they're chopped small like that, they thaw a whole lot faster. So eventually that bag just turned into a massive lump of yuck. And it just got to where, you couldn't use them. They would be all lumped together. You'd have to pry them loose with an ice pick, and it just ended up not being good. Those are the ones that I would end up finding in my freezer, like 2 years later. I'd find a partial bag of them that I had quit using because they had just turned into this big mass of frozen mess. And so this way, they just don't do that near as quickly or as bad. And it's super easy to take this out, and while it's still frozen, just to give it a chop if you need chopped bell peppers. So that is why I am freezing mine in strips. The other things that the other thing we use our peppers for, that the strips are real convenient for, are fajitas. We love to make fajitas, and a fajita is not good without bell peppers. And a lot of times during the winter, the bell peppers get really expensive. In fact, most of the time they get really expensive. So this way, we can pull these frozen strips out, and I can chop my onion, or strip my onions, and then I can cook that and make my fajitas, and that's really easy. And so that's one of the main things I do with my frozen peppers. Besides cooking with them, I do cook with them, but we like to make fajitas, and then we like to either make stuffed bell peppers or that stuffed bell pepper casserole. So they take up a lot less room in your freezer if you cut them into strips like this. But there's a lot of versatility to what you can do with them. All right, so let's move on to banana peppers. We obviously have a ton of banana peppers growing this year. And what I like to do with these banana peppers, sometimes I cook with them. I am very versatile, I guess. I use whatever I have. So my recipe might call for bell peppers, and if I don't have any, but I have banana peppers, I'll use banana peppers. I mean, I don't substitute jalapenos, obviously, for other peppers, but I do use, I interchange my peppers, my like banana peppers and bell peppers. I know they don't taste the same, but they kind of, they work. It works. So that's what I do. So I'm just not real picky about which pepper I use where. And one thing that I didn't say I do with my bell peppers is I love to use them in omelets too. We do eat a lot of omelets. And so I'll use banana peppers in my omelets, or I'll use bell peppers in my omelets. I'll use whatever kind of peppers I have. But the other thing that I like to do with these banana peppers and my jalapenos is to make pepper poppers. So I freeze these to make pepper poppers. I can always cut them up and do other things with them, but that's how I freeze them. So I'm going to show you how I do that. Okay, so to prepare my banana peppers for making pepper poppers, I cut the ends off of them just like this, and then I slit them right down the middle so that I have two halves. And usually most of the inside stays in one of the halves like it did here. So I just go back and I cut these membranes out and scoop all of those seeds out of there. And now I have two nice little halves that I can stuff. And like I said, if I want to use these for something else, I can pull a half or a whole out, and then I can chop them up while they're still frozen and use them in a recipe or, you know, an omelet, whatever I want to do with them. But this is how I freeze my banana peppers. Okay, let's talk about our jalapeno peppers. So the first thing that you want to do, this is like the most important thing that I'll tell you in the whole video, is before you start cutting up your jalapeno peppers, you need to put on gloves. It's really important. If you've ever not done it and made the mistake of putting your, you know, finger in your eye or something like that after fooling with jalapenos, then you know what I mean. And you know, it's not like you can just wash your hands and get that off. It kind of absorbs into your skin, so it's there for a while. So it's even more important, like if you have a baby or you have little kids that you know you're going to be fooling with, you really don't want to cut up a jalapeno pepper and then have that on your hands and, you know, touch your baby's face or touch your baby's eyes or mouth, or, you know, it would be bad. So gloves, number one most important thing when you cut up jalapenos. But basically I do my jalapenos exactly the same way that I do my banana peppers. I cut that end off of them, and then I slit them down the middle, and then I get all of these seeds and membranes out of the inside of them. And you do want, you know, according to how hot you like things. If you don't want them to be super hot, I mean, they're going to be hot regardless, but the more of the membrane you get out of the inside of them, and the more of the seeds you get out, the less heat you're going to have. If you leave seeds in there, if you leave the white membrane in there, your peppers are going to be hotter. So consider, you know, that, and consider who is going to be eating them too. So these again are something that I can take out and freeze them in halves, so they have this little, you know, half that I can stuff to make my pepper poppers. Or I can take this half out and I can slice it up or chop it up to do whatever I want to do with it. But our favorite is to have these pepper poppers made with jalapenos and banana peppers stuffed in the freezer that we can take out for a snack, or you know, sometimes we eat them for a meal. So if you stay tuned for next week's video, I'm going to show you how I make the pepper poppers. So I have some that I already have cut up, and I want to show you a little bit about how I freeze them. So if you've watched, my other videos of watching me freeze things, you know that I am a major believer in quick freezing your vegetables, fruit, whatever it is, before you put it into a bag, so that it's not all lumped together in a horrible mess. You can easily take out the amount you want to use without, having to get the ice pick out and pry it loose. Well, I used to, up until this summer, I always laid my peppers out very carefully and made sure that they were just in a single layer. Well, this year I've been mass doing this, and so I really got tired of having to do so many different sheets that I started putting them in kind of, I'm going to try to space these out. Not stacked up too high, but they're definitely touching each other. About like this. And I've started putting them in the freezer like this and quick freezing them. And I have found that they're very easy. Once they're frozen, I can just kind of pull them apart a little bit with my hands and stick them in my Ziploc bags. And so they freeze perfectly like that. But I can do more at a time this way. So what I'm saying is, you don't have to be really, really careful about making sure that they're not touching each other when you quick freeze them. And they will still work. So I'm going to put this one in the freezer so that I can show you what they're like when they come out. It's been a couple of hours since I put these peppers into the freezer, so I took them out so that I could go ahead and show you what they look like. So they are definitely, not stuck together. They're frozen, but I can still get them out of here and put them into my containers. So what I have these are partial bags that were already in my freezer. So these are banana peppers, and it looks like I have jalapenos in there too. So I'll go ahead and put I shouldn't mix these all up just now, but I'll put my banana peppers and my jalapeno peppers into this bag. Keep my bell peppers separate. Okay, I think that's all of those. And then I have another bag here that has my whole bell peppers. So I'll put those in this one. And there's a banana pepper that I missed, and there's some of those in here, so I'll put those in here. Now you do want to do this part as quickly as you can because they will start thawing. But the main thing I wanted to show you is that they don't have to be, now this is my my bell peppers, so they're going to go into this bag. They don't have to all be laid out flat on a cookie sheet. You can do that with some overlapping and everything, and they don't stick together. And you can easily get them into your Ziploc bags. And then get these bags back into the freezer. All right, so I got those peppers back in the freezer now. And I just want to say I hope that this video was helpful to you. I hope it gave you some ideas for what you can do with your frozen peppers, and then how you can go ahead and prepare your peppers when you put them into the freezer for what it is that you plan to do with them when you take them out. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. I really do appreciate all of you who watch my videos, and thank you for being here. And be sure and come back next week, and I am going to give you the recipe and show you how I make the pepper poppers with my frozen banana peppers and jalapeno peppers. So I'll see you again next week.